I'm super excited to be here. So, I focused my thesis on how much polar bear maternal denning habitat could be altered by oil and gas industrial sprawl in Area 1002 of Alaska. Quick outline about what I will be talking about today. So, a little bit of background about polar bears, their denning, the area, my study area, the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge, some of my methods, findings, and a quick conclusion. So polar bears span throughout the Northern Hemisphere with a range limited to areas where sea ice occurs. There are 19 distinct subpopulations of polar bears, and they live in 5 different countries. They carry an international status of vulnerable. The United States has 2 of these subpopulations, the Chukchi Sea and the Southern Beaufort Sea. According to the Alaska Department of Fish and Game, the Chukchi Sea population is stable, and the Southern Beaufort Sea population continues to decline with climate change as its main contributor. Oh, goodness, sorry. So for my research, I focused on the SBS population. Sorry about that, got a little crazy. So the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge, sometimes referred to as NWAR, is located in the northeastern part of Alaska next to the Canadian border. It includes a designated wilderness area along with coastal plains. So to put these numbers on the screen into perspective, the state of Texas is about the size of NWAR as a whole. The Molly Betty Wilderness Area is about the size of Maryland. And Area 1002, which is the coastal plains, my study area, is about the size of Delaware. This 1.5 million acres of coastal plains has had a pretty turbulent history, a push and pull over the estimated 20.7 billion barrels of oil under the surface, and its significance that it serves to wildlife in the area. I became interested in this area after the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act authorized responsible development in Area 1002. As part of responsible development plan, exploration and construction will be conducted during winters in order to reduce the impact on wildlife and the terrain. And this plan works pretty well for most things, except for the polar bears. So polar bears are different from others in many ways, and I could talk about them forever. But there's one aspect that I didn't expect and I found super intriguing whenever I started my research. Pregnant females are the only polar bears that den during winter. They enter these maternal dens in October-November timeframe. They give birth to usually twins in December, January, and then they exit these dens in March, April. Female polar bears are typically loyal to a general geographic area, and they return to the same substrate for repeated denning. Historically, most polar bears in the Southern Beaufort Sea population construct their maternal dens on sea ice. But over the past 3 decades, as sea ice has become thinner and prone to fragmentation, there has been a landward shift in the distribution of den sites. So again, the focus of my research is how much denning habitat could be affected by industrial sprawl of oil and gas extraction and exploration. George Durner and Todd Atwood published a paper in 2018 in which they used photo-derived data to map out polar bear maternal denning habitat in Area 1002. And this data is what I use for my maternal denning habitat. So the first thing I wanted to do is I wanted to see how well this photo-derived data lined up with historical dens in the area. I found that there was historically 54 dens in this area, and 42 of those dens lined perfectly up with the habitat lines that you can see here. Second, I wanted to know how much of the denning area of 1002 was available. And according to this paper, and after doing a little bit of manipulating to get it all together, I found that there's 945 acres of suitable denning habitat. The suitable denning habitat are the gray lines that you see throughout the map. And the den sites here are going to be the little polka dots, and they're based on the spring year that they were documented. Next, I georeferenced a scenario map that's created by the Audubon, Alaska, so that I can manipulate the data to show area that could be taken up by each of the following categories: the roads, the pipelines, and structures that will be part of the development once oil and gas extraction began. This area totaled an overall 4,575 acres being disturbed. I just want to reiterate that this is a scenario map. It's nothing that's happening now. It's just something that the Audubon, Alaska put together. After I gathered all the data into one map, what struck me was how vast the disturbance of the denning habitat could be. What's significant about this is that if denning polar bears are disturbed, there's a chance that they will abandon their dens. The mothers will abandon the dens, and this will result in the death of the offspring who are fully reliant on their mothers at this point. So again, my question was how much denning habitat would be disturbed by the oil and gas industrial sprawl? And when I intersected these two variables in GIS, I found that there was 3 acres that were going to be disturbed. But let's keep in mind that it's not one backyard size of, like 3 acres. This is spread over all of the area 1002, as you can see here. So a quick conclusion. A summary of my numbers, I found that there's 945 acres of suitable habitat, 4,575 acres of the whole area 1002 could be disturbed, and 3 acres of this maternal denning habitat spread over the whole area 1002 could be disturbed. One of the things that I think would be great to do for future research is to do this same sort of data collection and interpretation of the Purdue coastal plains, which are just next door to Area 1002. This could give us a good before and after effects of this industrial sprawl throughout the area. So when I was giving this presentation to a peer of mine, he had kind of said, all right, Brandie, so you told us all these numbers and all these things, but what's the point? And so what's the point? So to be honest, when I saw that there was only going to be 3 acres of habitat disturbed that was like portrayed by this scenario map, I was kind of upset because I was hoping for this really large number to make this huge impact because I want the polar bears to have this area. So I had to take a step back and look at the big picture. So as you can see here, this is from September 1980, the sea ice extent. And in 2020, this is now the sea ice extent. So with sea ice loss at a rate of 13% per decade, that's pushing the denning bears more and more on land. And if we are coming up from the other side and we're pushing them out, that 3 acres could make a huge difference. So I believe that human disturbance in this area 1002 will put added pressure on the southern Beaufort Sea population, causing further decline in their numbers. Do I have any questions?
Yeah, I have a question.